Build on Beauty TV here. I'm Cornell Jermaine. Listen, I wanted to talk to you today on our episode about one of my favorite passages of scriptures. It's a parable called the parable of the talents. It's in the New Testament. I believe you can find it in the book of Mark and Matthew, and I believe Luke. And John might have something about that, but it's definitely in the first four books of the Bible. But it's called the parable of the talents. And what's so significant about this is a long time ago I had to do a teaching on, I forget the exact subject that I had to teach on, but the parable of the talents was a scripture that I was using. And when I began to study that thing to prepare for my teaching, I began to see things in a different light as pertains to the parable of the talents. And parable of the talents really, it talks about sowing what you have and receiving a harvest. And that thing began to light a fire in me. It ignited so much passion in me because it allowed me to see in the parable of the talents, you have three individuals. One had, let's say, a nickel, the other had a dime, and the other had, let's say, 15 cents. And the one with the nickel, or the penny, I believe it was in the story, the one with the nickel felt like what they had was not enough, so they just went and said it. They didn't put it to use. The other two who had the 10 cents and the 15 cents, they went and they sold theirs into good ground. They put it into use and they had a harvest. When they got back to the leader or to God, they said, "Hey, what did you do with your talent?" And he said, "Hey, I did this, I did that." The other one said, "I did this, I did that." And that first one that had the least amount of them said, "Well, I didn't have this, I didn't have enough. What I had was inadequate. What I had was insignificant. So I didn't put it to use. I just saved it." And the act of them just saving or putting what themselves aside or feeling like what they had was not enough, and which is what I'm getting to, did not cause them to reap the harvest. They missed out on the bounty that they could have had because they refused to sow what they have. I'm coming to you to talk today about using what you got. Listen, you might not be able to sing, dance, perform, cook, clean, wash clothes, fix the light fixture, and paint the house. You might not be a man or woman of multiple gifts or multiple talents. That's okay. You might see people who can do all of those things. But the fact that you can't does not make you less. It does not make you inadequate or inferior to those other individuals. What you have is just enough for what it is that you need and what it is that you're assigned to do in that moment. Begin to put what you have to use. If you have a gift to sing, do that. You might not be able to write the songs yet. You might not be able to construct or produce yet, but you can sing. Put your gift and your talent to use. If you have the ability to write, you might not necessarily be able to speak. You might not have the confidence yet to stand in front of a crowd and speak, but you love to write. You love getting into your private place and putting the pen to the pad or your fingers to the keypad and writing. Do what you can right now. And I guarantee you, as you move forward, as you begin to exercise those gifts, you will begin to develop other things inside of you. Listen, I was one who grew up singing. I grew up in choirs and all through my youth, singing and performing with classical Christian music at church, all the kind of arenas. But I didn't know I had a gift to write music until one day I just began to sit down and melodies came to me and I began to take them seriously. I began to think about them differently. I just didn't look at them as just a haphazard occurrence. I began to look at them like, hey, you know what? Hey, let's see what this is, And before you knew it, I had full songs. I had melodies. I had recordings. I had CDs, music that had been produced just because way back when I was a little bitty lad or a little young boy, I decided to say, hey, this is a little different. Let me put this to paper. Let me see what this is. And I did that and something else developed. So let me let you see the potential that you have. You have the ability to do so much more, but you have to start where you are. Give what you have, the talent that you have, the gift that you have, whether it is as much as your neighbor or little as your neighbor, whatever it is, it can produce a harvest. There is so much bounty encapsulated in that little seed that you have, that little seed called your gift, your talent. And if you begin to just sow that seed in good ground, allow it to mature, fertilize it, water it, tend to it, I guarantee you there's a harvest that will come and it will bless you and generations. There is somebody that is waiting for you to arrive. And if you never arrive, they will never see who they are. Don't allow generations to be in lack because you decided that you weren't enough, that you were inferior, that you were inadequate to whatever it is that you have been assigned to do. Don't look at your neighbor. Don't be concerned about what they're doing. Be concerned about what he's given you. Put it to use and allow the harvest to grow. Bless you in this season. Thank you so much for joining me here on Build on Beauty TV. Cornell Jermaine, I thank you for joining me. Look for you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.